You would expect a political leader, even one as bombastic and unhinged as Donald Trump, to be able to find it within himself to be a decent person when people are at their lowest, when homes have been destroyed, the evidence of the collection of your life gone, washed away, literally washed away. Family photo albums, computers that hold the digital evidence of photographs you've taken, family heirlooms and mementos. Like, it is devastating to the lives, not just physically, but emotionally. And you would expect a leader, someone who cares, to set all of the politics aside, the division of red and blue and Democrat and Republican. You would expect them to set all that aside and be there, whether you vote blue, whether you vote red. Donald Trump cannot do it. And not only can he not do it, he takes it to the next step and actually stokes fear and conspiracy and violence. I'm going to read a couple of paragraphs from this Washington Post article that's going to predicate and give you an understanding, if you don't already know, you likely do because you're an informed audience here, of what Donald Trump said in North Carolina yesterday. The question was about a gunman who has been arrested, but was posing a credible threat to federal emergency management workers, where they had to postpone the critical aid, the critical job they're doing right now to stand up an infrastructure to help the people of North Carolina. And Donald Trump stood there in North Carolina and gave a ridiculous answer that only serves to possibly promote more violence. Here is the article, and I want you to look at this picture on the front page that is appended to this particular article. North Carolina authorities arrest armed man after threats against FEMA workers. Rutherford County Sheriff's Office confirms it made the arrest Saturday after learning of threat to Federal Emergency Management Agency employees working on hurricane relief. Now look, I'm not super familiar with this area. I've been in this area a couple of years ago. I was at a wedding here. Look at this. Here's a photo of me just a few hundred feet from where that picture on the Washington Post cover was taken. This is a beautiful area. But this is also an area, as you can see in the photo, that used to be represented by Madison Cawthorn. There are a lot of conspiracy-minded people here who can be driven to violence with very little effort by a charlatan like Donald Trump. And that is exactly what he has done. And this reporter, well, actually, let me read a couple paragraphs here. Threats against federal emergency response personnel have hampered relief work in parts of western North Carolina hard hit by Hurricane Helene, prompting disaster workers to relocate because of safety concerns and feeding a cycle of fear and anxiety. On Monday, the Rutherford County Sheriff's Office said in a statement that it had arrested William Jacob Parsons, 44, of Bostic, North Carolina, on charges of making threats against Federal Emergency Management Agency employees. FEMA and U.S. Forest Service personnel who had been working on recovery relocated, and at least some work in the county was paused. While officials had warned about the threat of truckloads of militia potentially targeting relief workers, the sheriff's office said it did not find evidence of those claims. So when Donald Trump was asked about this threat of violence to federal employees who were there to help, violence, a threat of violence that is predicated upon conspiracy theories and lies and distrust in a government that he wants to lead again, he gave a nonsensical, just meandering answer that only serves to justify this kind of dissension and threat of violence. Watch this.
President Trump, an armed gunman was arrested and charged with making threats against FEMA workers 2 Saturdays ago. FEMA had a safety stand down because of continued credible threats. Is it helping the recovery effort in North Carolina to keep making these claims that FEMA's not doing their job?
Well, I think you have to let people know how they're doing. If they were doing a great job, I think we should say that too, because I think they should be rewarded. But if they're not doing, does that mean that if they're doing a poor job, we're supposed to not say it? These people are entitled to say it. And these are honest people behind this. If FEMA were doing well, they would be saying they did a good job. They're not, for the most part, political people. For the most part, they're not political people. But you've obviously seen nothing but very bad statements coming out about the job that FEMA and this administration has done, having to do with this area, North Carolina as a whole. And by the way, other states also, they're also complaining. But look, a lot of the money is gone. They don't have any money. They have to have a meeting in Washington, a special meeting in Washington to get money. It's all gone. They've spent it on illegal migrants. Many of them are murderers. Many of them are drug dealers. Many of them come out of mental institutions and insane asylums. And many of them are terrorists. And they spent money to bring these people into our country, and they don't have money to take care of the people from North Carolina and other states. So, I think you have to be able to speak. Does that mean let's not talk about it? Because by doing that, they'll do a better job the next time. It's very important.
First of all, he does the classic Donald Trump thing where he starts referring to the people around him as though they're the ones who were arrested for threatening violence. That wasn't the question. He didn't answer the question. Donald Trump and the Trump campaign and MAGA surrogates have been fueling lies and conspiracies that have led to unhinged, low information rubes like William Jacob Parsons from taking up arms against their government in a manner that's going to harm their neighbors, harm them by not having them receive the assistance they need right now when their lives have been devastated. And Donald Trump, rather than say, look, there's no point to this violence, this should stop, no time ever, but especially in a moment like this when we should all be coming together. There's no message of unity. It's only division, 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 red team versus blue team. And in a moment when that should not be the motivation at all. He wants to be president of the United States again. How do you think he's gonna, when he actually has some control over the purse strings, over FEMA, which is under the executive branch of the government, which the president leads, how do you think he's gonna handle it? We've already seen him politicize emergency aid. California, North Carolina, we've already seen it. He will learn from his mistakes. These Project 2025 ghouls, they will be in charge. 2 weeks. You got a choice. You too, North Carolina. This is reprehensible, especially from a presidential candidate, from a former president of the United States. You can comment below. I invite you to this conversation. You can also call, leave me a voicemail, 714-576-4054. And of course, as always, you can email me daily at dollemore.com. If you want to help support this work, help produce this work, I would appreciate it. You can click the join button below, become a channel member for $1.99 a month. You can go over to my Patreon page, patreon.com/IDoubtItPodcast. Please subscribe if you haven't already. Really very close to 1 million subscribers. That is just nuts to me. Absolutely nuts. I am so lucky, and I appreciate your participation in helping that happen. Follow me on social media if you're there. I am at Dollemore. I'd love to see you. And I will see you next time. Until then, be genuine. Take care of one another.